Week Deeps! We're looking at something very special today. We are looking at the one level in every class build. This is going to be contingent on a few things. Here we have gloves that set our dex to 18, an amulet that sets our con to 23, and we have an elixir that sets our strength to 27. With these, we won't have to worry about those three stats. I start off here with fighter because I want armor proficiencies and weapon proficiencies. Defense is good because it doesn't limit your fighting style in any way. Just good to have the extra AC. You can see my stats here as they break down. Charisma is at 17 because I have the Annie-Ethel hair, so it will be rounded off to 18 when we get out of here. But I could always be doing other stuff to manipulate it. As far as skills, going with athletics and perception. You're going to be getting expertise in certain skills, so it's good to collect the ones that you want throughout this process. Things like Ranger, Bard, and also Rogue will get you skill proficiencies as well. If we look at the different level ups and what we can go for, the order is helpful. I go with some of the simpler ones that we're not going to have any choices for, like Barbarian. You gain access to Rage. Just make sure you keep medium armor on. Monk, you get access to Punch. You get bonus action punches, some ki. After that, Paladin. Paladin's another one. This is going to just give you a short rest ability in your Channel Oath. I go with the Oath of the Ancients because I like the AoE healing. Very nice. Those are the easy classes right off the bat. You're not really getting much out of these. Not a ton of choices needed. Moving on next, we're going for the prepared spellcasters. This being Cleric and Druid, our wisdom-based boys. So, Druid, you just have to choose cantrips. I go with the two classic Druid cantrips, Shillelagh, Thorn Whip. Just have access to those. We will prepare spells after all of this. As far as Cleric goes, you get a lot of good stuff because level 1 is when they get their subclass. If we look, you can pick up the cantrips as you need them. It's going to be a build that has every cantrip in the game, though, so you don't really need to worry too much about which you're taking. Just be careful of overlap. So, here we have Life Cleric, which gives you the extra healing, but I like War Domain for this. The ability to make some bonus action attacks, like regular weapon attacks, really makes up for the lack of extra attack. Of course, go with Tiamat. She has a special place in my heart. Love that dragon. And then, yes, we get the prepared spells from that. Next, I'm thinking about skills. If we go to Ranger and Bard, we'll be able to get skills before going to Rogue for expertise. So Ranger provides you with a couple choices. Now, you could pick up Find Familiar from here, but we're going to be a wizard, so we don't need to grab that here. I go with Sanctified Stalker, so I can get Sacred Flame and Religion proficiency. Very nice. As far as the Natural Explorer, I go with the Urban Tracker, so we can grab Sleight of Hand proficiency. But you can grab a Resistance here if you want. I'm already resistant to cold because of the Dragonborn. Here you can pick up on your extra skill from this. Insight is really good on a face person because you get to see what everyone is thinking more, and if they're lying to you or trying to hide something. Now that we got our skill from that, we can go into Bard and grab a little bit of Arcane Magic as well as another skill. Cantrips, Vicious Mockery is the Bard exclusive one. Make sure to grab that. As far as spells go, this will highlight in yellow the ones that you can prepare from the other classes like Cleric and Druid. It's nice to have chosen those first so you can see what you have options for. The ones that aren't highlighted are ones that you don't have access to through that. Dissident Whisper is great because it's a concentration-less control spell, but I also put Healing Word down because I always have that prepared on a character. Might as well know it for real. I saw a funny Dark Urge with a flute once, so that's that. As far as abilities go, we're going to have proficiency and expertise in all of the charisma skills because of an illithid power, so just choose based on what you want. I go with Arcana here. That comes up in dialogue some, and some out of dialogue checks as well. Nice to have. Now you have a suite of good skills that you have before you go to Rogue for your expertise. Rogue lets you get 2 expertise as well as 1 extra skill, and you'll have access to sneak attack. Don't worry about using a finesse melee weapon because your punches actually will count for sneak attack. So moving on here, I'm going with athletics so that I can really shove people to grab expertise, and expertise and perception so I don't miss anything important. As far as my last skill, more in skills. Might as well. Investigation is good for finding little bits of treasure sometimes. After Rogue, now there's only a couple classes left. We're going with the Arcane Spellcasters, the Sorcerers, Warlock, Wizard. Here, just make sure not to choose Firebolt, Ray of Frost, Shocking Touch, and Bone Chill. You can scribe these as a wizard, so you might as well just pick up other cantrips here. Yep, any of them matter. Acid Splash is great. You'll be able to proc any of the different saves with your cantrips from Wisdom, Constitution to Dex. Here, picking up Shield and Chromatic Orb are good spells to always know. Chromatic Orb gives you access to any damage. Shield is great. Now go with Draconic here. There's a couple reasons why. It's very nice because you get your extra prepared spell and Armor of Agathis, something that's good to upcast to 3rd level. But also, you get these cool bloodlines. I love the look of these. I love that this and then the Totem Barbarians have different outward appearances to them based on the class. Super cool. So yeah, set up your Dark Urge or set up your character however you want them to. And now we can go on to Warlock. Warlock's a pretty easy choice here for me. Grab your cantrips. You're going to want Eldritch Blast. You'll get 3 rays of that because you're level 12. You can go with Fiend for the temp HP, but I like to go with the Great Old One because if you get a critical, you get this frightened blast that hits everyone. Very nice. Picking up the 2 other Warlock exclusive spells in Hellish Rebuke and Hex. Those things are very nice, and you'll be able to upcast at least Hellish Rebuke. Finally, our last but not least class, Wizard. So you can see, yeah, Bone Chill, Firebolt, Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp. Those are going to be scribed into your book after this, so might as well grab the other cantrips instead. Now we can see based on all of our different choosings, all the yellow ones that are already on our lists, and then all the ones that are unhighlighted that we don't have yet. So I pick up the Find Familiar here because it's easier than taking it with Ranger. With this, you'll be able to prepare it, summon a familiar, then unprepare it. Other great ones are Expeditious Retreat, Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a good control spell, False Life if you want the extra temp HP, but whatever makes it work here. You'll be able to scribe higher level wizard spells into your, like Haste or Darkness or Blindness. Yeah, that's our big setup there. Now, I make a few changes to the equipment before the actual demo of this, but overall, you can see here my stat breakdown with the 27 strength, 18 for the dex, 23 for con. This comes from the Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength, the Gloves of Dexterity, and the Amulet of Health. These will just set your stats there so we don't have to worry. You can also see the 14 Int, passable, a 16 Wisdom is good, and a 20 in Charisma because of the hat I am wearing, Birthright. It adds a +2 to your Charisma, but you could wear the hat that gives you a 16 Intelligence instead. Here we can see that we have a +17 for our Athletics for shoving and jumping and other stuff like that. Very good. Our Perception is at a +11 as well with the Expertise. And then we have the Expertise in Deception, Intimidation, and Persuasion from the Illithid Power. Look at all those levels. Here's the best part about this build. If you look at the tags at the bottom, these all help unlock different dialogue throughout the game. So if you have this as your face character, you'll get options for stuff like Fighter or for Barbarian, who usually don't do the talking in your group. There's so many more dialogues in this. The cape helps out with all the different spell DCs. This is medium armor for the chest plate that I'm wearing. This adds your full dex to the 17 base class that it is already. Our dex modifier is just 4 from our Gloves of Dexterity, so you'll start with a base armor class of 21. Pretty good. The Gloves of Dexterity will also add a +1 to attack, which is always nice to secure those hits. I go with the Boots of Striding here because I don't like to get knocked prone or moved. When you get knocked prone, you lose concentration, and I don't like that. Here's an amulet that gives you advantage on Constitution saves because we don't like stopping concentration. A ring that boosts your damage while you're concentrating, and finally a ring that boosts your weapon and unarmed damage when you're in the light or heavily obscured areas. Since it affects both, this is extra nice because this will make your flurry of blows sting more. This lowers your crit threshold by 1, which is nice, and I went with the Punch Drunk Bastard because it felt right as I was building this. I do switch this off for something else, as you'll see later in the video. You can see that it's linked as my packed weapon because I was previously a Warlock, so it scales off Charisma. Pretty interesting, but I want it to scale off Strength. So rather than rebuilding into a Warlock and unequipping my packed thing, we're just going to go with a new weapon. Here, we also want to do a little bit of last-minute prep with the wizard stuff. So the hardest part about this build, though, organizing your hotbar. I had to do things behind the scenes just because you have so many spells and cantrips now. But you'll notice that I left a few empty slots up there. So, if we go over to, it's going to be a problem menuing. If we go over to Wizard, we can see the different spells we can prepare. But we are also a wizard, so we can still learn spells. First, though, we can conjure out a familiar. Just our best friend, Mr. Krabs. Easy. And then, once that is out there already, you can unprepare the spell. This comes back every short rest, but you never need to have it prepared, taking up one of your very few prepared spell slots. You can prepare a number of spells equal to your whatever caster class level plus your modifier. So for us, it's Wizard level 1 plus 2 from our 14 intelligence. You can also go to learn more spells. Here you're able to find the 4 different cantrips that I mentioned that you can scribe. In addition to those cantrips, you are able to scribe other higher level spells. So even if you don't have a very high intelligence for this build, there are plenty of great non-spell DC related spells that you can be adding to here. Expeditious Retreat is great at a first level, but you also have Haste at level 3. Now we have all of our 2-hit spells here on the top row of different damage types. We also below that have all the different saves, Dex, Wisdom, Con. This should give you a good spread. You will be able to do lots of different types of damage and invoke lots of different types of saves with this build, as well as the various spells that we have. Wizard is unique because we can prepare these higher level spells, so I'm going through now and just grabbing them. It's always good to keep in mind the ones that don't require you to have a good intelligence stat, like Misty Step or Enlarge or something like that. There's a lot of different good scrolls out there, but you'll be able to add any first level spells through this. Invisibility is a great one, Knock. Or you can do ones that will target the saves. Like I prepare Slow here as one of my control spells that I wanted to do. But also, you don't have to do that if you decide to dump intelligence for your multi-class build. But yeah, this is going to help out with your whole control abilities to have a couple higher level spells. Though you will be doing things like upcasting other versions of spells like Chromatic Orb or Armor of Agathis. Then, the hardest part again, moving these around in the menu. It's definitely difficult. You don't have to prepare every spell, so you can give yourself a little bit less menu space, but I do, because might as well. So here's where we switch up out of the Punch Drunk Bastard, because that was bonded to me. Now we've got Shar's Spear of Evening, and we've added Kethric's Shield. You have various spell save DCs and spell to hits based on int, charisma, and all that. The Cape and the Shield will help make those much better. Now we're immune to Blinded, and we are ready to start swinging out at some baddies. Yeah, multi-class achieved.